been being the producer and mixing engineer for Morisette. So I'm her musical director, producer, mixing engineer. Medyo alam ko na music is really what I wanted to do.
Yes.
After a while, I got bored of shredders eh.
What's up mga tol, and welcome to our new episode of GPR Stories Buhay Musikero Edition. This will be a series of interviews about life, passion, and challenges of Pinoy musicians around the world. Ang mga makakasama natin dito ay mula sa iba't ibang larangan ng musika. Matuto at naway magbigay ito ng inspirasyon sa mga kapwa nating musikerong Pinoy sa lahat ng sulok ng mundo. Isa na naman ang Pinoy Pride ang mga kasama natin dito sa GPR Stories Buhay Musikero Edition. From Berkeley, back to the Philippines, none other than Xergio Ramos. He is a guitarist and also the producer of the #1 EP in Spotify by Morisette Amon. But back in the US, he also worked with the Grammy Award-winning producer Mars, Madison Beer, and Maya, at marami pang iba. So ano pang hinihintay natin? Kilalanin natin si Xergio Ramos dito lang sa GPR Stories Buhay Musikero Edition.
Well, for me yung pinakamahirap, especially ngayon kasi I live with mga seniors eh. Like I live with my lolo and my lola. So I have to be very mindful kapag lumalabas ako. And as much as possible, hindi ako lumalabas.
Okay.
So syempre, lahat ng mga potential gigs ko or yung mga gigs na nakaplan before, medyo nag-fall through. Some of the artists that I play for then, medyo they don't perform live as much anymore. So, yun. And then I had to find other ways of, and different avenues on how to express music or do something productive or musical. So yun nangyari. I started teaching for a little bit. And then I started mixing and producing for other artists na din. Most notably, which has taken up majority of my time for the past year, has been being the producer and mixing engineer for Morisette. So I'm her musical director, producer, mixing engineer.
Okay, lahat. Ayos. Pero paano ba kayo nag-start? Paano kayo nag-start na tumugtog mag-gitara? Or yung musical background?
Musical background?
Yes. History, kumbaga.
Grew up here in the Philippines. Went to high school here. And nag-start ako at around 12 years old sa first high school ko. Which was parang experimental arts and sciences high school. So guitar was parang required class siya. Pero some students picked it up, some hindi. My mom was always was big in the music industry before, and was always very, very supportive. So music was always kasama sa background ko ever since.
Okay.
I was initially a dancer when I was 6, but once I started playing the guitar, yan, sunod-sunod na. So from that high school, I went to a different high school, continued lang, and by that time, medyo alam ko na music is really what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And then I went to Berkeley College of Music for guitar performance. Graduated all 4 years, bachelor's degree in guitar performance. And then from there, I moved to Los Angeles to pursue being a session musician for different pop artists there. I was able to work with a lot of mga big name pero behind the scene people. Some other smaller artists pero still bigger pa rin. I was able to work with one of the producers who worked on 24 Karat Magic, yung album mismo. I was supposed to play guitar for this Grammy-nominated artist named Maya, who's a R&B artist from like the 2000s. Pero that fell through. Was supposed to go on tour with another artist named Madison Beer, who's popular on Instagram and TikTok. I also was a guitarist for Six Flags, yung theme park. And then after medyo my visa stopped and some personal things, I had to come back home. And now I'm here. Ever since coming back home, I'm pretty much, I think I'm the primary guitarist for Gary Valenciano since coming back. And then I've played for a few other people here, but most notably it's Gary Valenciano and Morisette. So yun, that's my musical background.
Wow, grabe.
A lot of pop music.
Nice, grabe. And ano yun? Can you tell us your experience sa Berkeley? Kasi parang bihira yung nakakapasok ng Berkeley.
Dati nung estudyante ako, what I was told was for every 3 guitarists that they could only take 1.
Okay.
And yung acceptance rate nila at the time nung freshman ako, I think was like 18%, pero ngayon it went up to like 54 last I checked, mga like 3 years ago. So essentially yung nangyari is there's some debt issues, and essentially if you have the money, you can pay to go to Berkeley, and it's a big price tag, pero you can it's easier to get in now. Berkeley has changed a lot, but highly recommend going to music school or just exposing yourself to any more broad community, kasi yung most important part. It's not being in the classroom, it's connecting with different people and learning from other people.
Experience pa rin, yung real experience pa rin. Oo. Paano yung process pala dyan, sir? Sa
audition. How to get in. So I actually have a video about this long time ago when I first when I first auditioned. Pero the process is that you sign up, you register sa website, and then you have to do an in-person audition. And they say kung saan yung mga audition sites. And I have some family in the US, so I went for over the summer to Atlanta, Georgia, which is where some of my family is. And that was where I had my audition. And we were supposed to have a prepared piece. And when you go there,
kailangan ba kailangan ba classical or any piece?
Anything. Kasi Berkeley is a contemporary music school, hindi a classical school. If you want classical, you go to Juilliard. If you want everything else, you go to Berkeley. So once I was there, they gave me some prepared reading, a little bit, like 5 minutes to look over everything lang. And then pag time ko na, I had to play my prepared piece, which I think at the time was Room 335 by Larry Carlton. Parang a shortened version that I made.
Wow.
And then the proctor would parang point at one of the yung examples for reading and say, okay, read this in time. And my reading is not the best, but my ear is a lot better. So
nice.
After that, he, I think, turned his back. Tapos sabi daw niya, okay, play this note. And then I would search for it. Ayun, play it. Okay, play this note. Pang testing ng ear training level ko. And then after that, he wanted to see my improvisation skills. So he would parang play simple blues chords lang. And then he wanted to see what I would do on top of it. And I think that was pretty much it. Then just being respectful, shaking hands, smiling, leaving a good impression. And then months later, when I was already back in the Philippines, I got an email saying, yun, pasok ako. So,
Nice.
very interested in it. When I started playing guitar kasi, yung sa second high school, sa first high school ko, that Arts and Sciences High School, I did 2 years of classical. Classical guitar yung initial background ko.
Oh, okay.
And then while I was there, slowly, medyo na-discover ko electric guitar. Oh my God, you can bend strings. I didn't know this was possible. So over time from there, started getting interested in a lot of yung the people that when they start to learn guitar, they initially get interested in yung mga guitar heroes, Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Slash was the one who, for me, was the one who made me want to pick up an electric guitar. Tapos after that, yun, tuloy-tuloy na. Actually, I'm a big video gamer
Okay.
And at the time, Guitar Hero 2 and Guitar Hero 3 were medyo yung in games at the time. And actually, I thank Guitar Hero for exposing me to a lot of music because I wouldn't have discovered Stevie Ray Vaughan, Carlos Santana, sino pa, Wolf Mother, a lot of different people. Eric Johnson, I discovered through Guitar Hero.
Ilan taon yan, sir? Siguro mga grade.
Mga 14 years old ako.
Grade school, high school.
High school.
High school, high school. Grabe rin pala yung mga influence nyo na no?
At the time din kasi wala akong internet I think I had with my mom, I had yung Smart Bro Wi-Fi. I had 1 hour of internet a week. So, yun, most of my listening came from yun, Guitar Hero. And if I wanted to learn it, I had to learn it by ear. Walang internet, diba? So I couldn't look at guitar tabs.
Wala pa mga YouTube.
Anything. So mostly by ear. Meron at the time, pero wala akong internet So,
okay. So, ano lang talaga, widow, parang nung time na yon, ear training.
Puro ear training, oo.
Okay. So, ano yung ma-advise nyo sa mga new musicians? Kailangan ba sight reading kagad or kailangan ear training?
Depende din kasi on what you want to do. For me personally, ear 100%. You need to develop your ear not just as a guitar player or as a musician. There's a lot of different things I could say. Parang me as a guitar player, I don't listen as a guitar player. I listen as to everything, and then I see where I fit, diba? And then on a more parang zoomed in level, that's when you can listen to parang how certain guitarists will play certain notes, certain bends. Why does a certain guitar player sound like a certain guitar player? Parang ganon. That takes a lot of extra special listening. Pero dito sa Philippines kasi, what I've noticed is, and I personally, I think, and I've spoken out about this, pero I think it's a medyo outdated system na if you're a session musician, you're expected to be a reading robot. So there'll be some, music directors na you'll just show up sa rehearsal, they'll put the paper in front of you and expect you to read it sunod-sunod.
Oo, ganun dito
Ganun dito. But for me, that's personally not how I operated. That's not how I learned. While I was at Berkeley and while I was in Los Angeles, didn't read a single note
talaga?
of music. Everything is ear. If you play jazz, the most that you get, if you open yung real book, it's yung melody note lang. Melody notes and yung chords. Pero everything else,
Improvise.
you need to think. Improvise. You need to think on your feet and you need to listen on your feet. So personally, I think your ear is much more useful than your eyes. Kasi we're musicians, we make art for the ears, not for the eyes. Diba?
Naabutan nyo, CD, tape.
Oo.
Diba? Ganun pa tayong pag pumapa and then yung tablatures, ganyan. So, ganun din kayo kumbaga nag-start.
Oo.
Ah, okay.
Puro tenga yung ginagawa ko eh. So for example, ito. Like, I don't even know what I'm gonna, yung key. Ay, you can't hear it pala. So, if somebody were to play, my ear can immediately hear that's 4 to 3 to 6 to 2 major. Like, yun yung iniisip ko na ngayon eh. And also, if I were to hear something like, if I were to hear that, yung papasok sa isip ko, okay, that's 6, going to 5 over its third, going to 1, going to 4, going to yung dominant, yung 5 of 5, and then yung 5 of 6 to 6.
Ah, so, okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ano na rin.
Diba?
Oo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 na rin yung yung
so,
thinking.
the reason naman, the reason why I think that way naman, well, aside from, in jazz and when you start learning jazz and music and you start learning yung language of jazz theory, kasi us as guitar players, diba, we don't think that this is the note G. We think this is the note fret 3. Diba?
Ah, okay.
Like this is the 3rd fret chord. Pero for me, dapat you should be able to move yung knowledge mo around. Kasi imagine mo kung naging yung key is G sharp major, ayun, patay ka na. But if you just think entirely of numbers and yung relationship of chord numbers and mga ganon, and it's easier to transpose. So yung what I played, which was 6, yan, I can play that without having to know what key I was looking at. Kasi us guitarists, diba, we're very visual people. We look at shapes. We look at shapes. We look at mga shapes and scale patterns. Pero after a while, you can't rely on your eyes. You also have to think. And use your ears as much as possible. So.
Ano ba yung mostly pinapakinggan nyo ng music?
Now or before?
Before.
Kasi iba yan eh. Before, well, I grew up listening to pop music mostly. So malakas. When I was growing up, I listened to a lot of Michael Jackson, Earth, Wind and Fire, NSYNC. Mga 2000s pop people. So, yan. Si Usher, parang ganon.
Ah, okay. So mostly pop talaga. Yan.
Yeah, nice and slow.
Okay.
Ako kasi, a lot of yung tastes ko aren't in line with yung tastes ng mga, gitaristang Pinoy eh.
Okay.
Yeah, kasi like a lot of Filipino guitarists, especially now, they have dumaan sila sa mga 80s na tunog. For example, yung mga ganito yung tunog. Diba? Ganun. Like people that grew up listening to River Maya or Parokya or sino pa? Not Toto. Toto a little bit. Dumaan ako ng Toto just a little bit, pero a few songs lang. Yun, may mga people who worship Steve Lukather, people who worship yun si Steve Vai, si John
Petrucci,
Satriani. Oo. Pero yung mga tastes ko kasi kind of go more towards after a while I got bored of shredders eh. Which I think every guitarist goes through. Pero yung taste ko, like from the start, was more towards yung players who played with more of a bluesy touch
soul,
or bluesier feel. So, or tone, I guess. So, I gravitated towards Stevie Ray Vaughan. I gravitated towards Stevie Ray Vaughan. Slash is another one, as I mentioned. Eddie Van Halen, which actually very, very, he knows how to swing. He knows how to actually play blues if you slow everything down. Ngayon, yung my all-time favorite guitar idols are the ones that really got me into like yung next level ko. Si Greg Howe and Guthrie Govan. Those two especially. Pero right now, I don't really listen to many guitarists as much. I mostly listen to music. I listen to musicians instead of certain guitar players. Because I don't want to be stuck or sounding like a certain era or person. I like grabbing influences from different people and different times and things. So you can easily hear me play yung mga ganon. You can hear me play that, and then I'll play yung
sarap.
Mga ganon, diba? For me, what I learned, especially from Guthrie, is to be as versatile as possible. So it's just whatever catches my ear, and then also, if I want, I learned this before. Hindi ko na maalala yung Polyphia stuff.
Totoo ba ang kumakalat na balita na ang BTS daw ay bayot?
Wala akong pake. Sorry, hindi ako BTS ARMY.